Well, back on the 7300 today. First thing on the agenda is get these two bearings to variable speed changed out, which actually is not as bad of a job as what it looks like. I've already got all the belts loose, which there's just 4 bolts here in the carriage, and these 2 jack bolts you loosen up, slide the carriage forward, and then back this jack screw off to loosen the long belt. Then pull these 2, that bolt, and that'll let you get the pins out to hold the cylinders on. Take these 4 bolts out, this will lay over here, and then all you got is the 4 bolts and or 2 bolts on each bearing, and then you can pull that whole pulley assembly out. So they were thinking on this, it's a little bit more of a job on the 525. That variable speed on those kind of sucks. Does the job, but it sucks to work on. So anyway, nothing to it but to do it. And when you do these 2 bolts, these are also what limit your stroke for your variable speed, so you don't overstroke it. So I forget the dimension. Basically, if you don't back off your jam nuts, you put them right back. Just measure to make sure they're the same. But you can't run these in too far. You'll overstroke the cylinder. There's a dimension in the book, but come on. Now those are out. You can get the pins out and hold cylinders on. Come on, get out of there. The bottom one's a little fun. And the cotter pin didn't fold up like I wanted it to, and now it's all jacked up. And then once that's all disassembled, take these gear bolts off. I apologize if the camera's kind of shaky. That's the best spot I can think to put it, and it's on the side shield for the combine, and it's a little floppy. I don't know why, but threads on that bolt are a little messed up. The other ones are all fine. I don't know why that one's different. Wasn't loose. Interesting. But now that guy's off. And you got 2 bolts here and 2 bolts back there. And then that'll come off. The best part of this whole job is lifting this big, heavy, awkward bastard out of here through all these belts. That guy up out the way. And get this back out of the way. Because there's not really a good way to get a hold of it easily with all the shit in the way. Flip that guy off the back, hopefully. And then get that out of there. And there you go. Okay. Back bearing is just press fit. Front bearing is press fit with a snap ring. So, all you gotta do is say a prayer to the gods that it's not gonna be stuck. Too bad. Anyway, and get you a nice puller on there with an impact. There we go. Except it's gonna be a little fighter. Sometimes you get lucky. That bearing doesn't feel too bad. That bearing actually doesn't feel bad at all. Must have been the front one that was growling. But get both these bearings off, and then gotta take it down and put it in shop press and press the new ones on. But first you gotta knock these out of the housings and put the new bearings in, which new bearings in an AGCO box, yeah, you can buy parts for a 40 no, this would be a 50-year-old combine now. Straight from AGCO, still brand new in the box. That one come out of Romania, and that one come out of Japan. So anyway, I'm gonna get this front bearing off, and I'll roll those in the housing, and we'll catch you down at the press. Okay, I got the new bearings in. That one went fine. This guy, this is the housing that came off the combine. I cleaned it up and rolled the new bearing in it, and the bearing wouldn't fit tight. I could take the outer race, and I could, if you couldn't just take one finger and spin it in there, but if you took 2 fingers and kind of pulled on it, you could spin the race inside that bearing housing. So I have had this one, because I have enough parts laying around here that I could actually build an entire drive side variable speed for the 525, and I had this spare bearing housing laying around off of that. That's the same one, and I cleaned that up, put the bearing in it, and the bearing fits pretty tight in that one. So crisis averted. Although I probably could have put that bearing, probably could have put this back together with that bearing housing, and the way the belts and everything pull on it, it probably would have been fine. But it just makes me feel a lot better having one that it fits fairly snug in, like it should. So, got that. Got both sides of the shaft cleaned up. Got some anti-seize, so just got to drive the bearings back on and put her back together. Alright, went and found me a little block of scrap steel. This bearing isn't... It's not even really a press fit, it's more of an interference fit. That's why they got that snap ring on there. The other side is a press fit. But I got to get that on there that far. and then find me a hunk of pipe, because I got to drive that one all the way home. The other one just goes flush with the end of the shaft. So I got to find me a hunk of pipe. I actually ended up finding a random hunk of brass from something, but this doesn't push that hard, so it don't matter. And we're home. Actually, I think we're a little too far home. Oh, wait, dumbass. I put the bearing on. Well, I got both bearings on after having to take that one back off and turn it around and put it back on. But, sometimes, as much as it makes you feel like an idiot having to tear something back apart, put it back together again, sometimes it's a blessing in disguise, because I got this thing down on the floor, got the puller, pulled that bearing back off, went to stand it back upright so I could get a hold of it, grabbed a hold of the drive pulley for the unload auger with both hands, yanked on it kind of hard, and the whole damn pulley come off the shaft in my hands. That damn set screw come loose. And if I hadn't had to take that bearing back off to flip it around, I'd never found it, so I got to tighten that set screw up. So, in all reality, it was kind of a blessing in disguise that I put that thing backwards otherwise, because if that thing would have started walking on the shaft, wallering on the shaft, that could have made some damage that would have been a little hard to repair. So, sometimes mistakes turn out for the better. But anyway, tighten that set screw and that thing is ready to go back on, and putting it back on is just the opposite of taking it off, so it's really not worth showing because you saw how it comes off. So just take that process and reverse it. So rather than wasting camera time, I'm going to throw that back on there and we will catch you on the next project. Okay, it was a little bit of a fight wrestling that big bastard back in there, but it's all back in, all the belts are tight, everything's tight, we're good to go. And 2 pro tips, and the first one applies to anybody that owns a combine. If you're going to work on one of these old things and you want to save yourself a bunch of 4-letter words, buy a set of stubby wrenches, because you'll really appreciate it. Preferably 2 sets, but 1 set helps a lot. And the other thing, and this applies to the 525, 35, 45, and 7300, all 4 of them. When you're putting the variable speed back together, you always tighten the traction belt first, and then tighten the main belt going up to the motor, because tightening this is going to change the tension on that. So this one always tightens up first. So, other than that, this side's buttoned up, and with that being done, everything should be ready to go cut wheat. Everything I'm doing after this is just getting it converted over to a chopper. So the next job is going to be getting this pulley swapped out. That guy right there. And I kind of wish Max was still around so I could ask him what particular situation led, because this belt drives the tailing elevator, and I really want to know what situation led to him getting the tailing system plugged up and getting this pulley so hot, smoking the belt that he burned all the paint off of it, because that would probably have been an interesting story. But unfortunately, that one's going to be lost to time. So anyway, getting that off there's going to be the next project, and if it's as stuck as the one was on the 525, it's going to be a fun one. Alright, so I got the belt off. There's a snap ring here you got to take off. I got the end of the shaft cleaned up best I could, and I got our special built low profile puller that we made when we did this on the 525, because with that elevator in the way you can't get a regular puller on there. And I got tension on it and it ain't moving, so I have to throw some heat at it. Fun. Okay, let's make some fire. can't see shit up in there. Okay, where'd I put my damn wrench? Oh, I'll be damned. Okay, so got that off. It came, once I got a little bit of heat on it and broke the rust, it pulled right off nice and easy. That's actually a lot less of a fight than when we did it on the 525. So I cleaned the shaft up with emery cloth. And I give her plenty of anti-seize, although the odds of me ever having to take this thing off again are slim to none. The only thing you'd have to do it for is if you ever change that sprocket, which you should never have to do, in theory. There's that. And then the key goes back in. That's gonna need a little tappy tap. There's that. Then I clean the paint off the inside of the bore on the pulley. So hopefully it's not gonna do it. Hopefully, ideally it just slides right on there. It's trying. Go grab a dead blow. And before anybody says anything stupid, because I know there's at least one person thinking it, no, them bolts in that pulley aren't tight, I just put them in there by hand. Go. Well, had to go through all that to get that big bastard on there. Belt's back on, belt's tight, pinch bolts and pulley are tight, bolts that hold the big pulley on the small pulley are tight. Although now that I got it on there and I was looking at it, if I remember right, you got to take that off to get the belts on. But I could be wrong. You might be able to sneak them past in between there. I don't know. It's been so long since I did it on my 525. I honestly can't remember, but it's on there now. So anyway, with that done, I have to go through and pull some guards off to get ready to get the chopper put on. This one's got to come off because the belts run through there. Straw spreader's got to come off. This has got to come off. That pulley can probably stay for now. So yeah, although I might leave these two on for now until I actually get ready to get the chopper put on, because the ones that go on for the chopper look exactly like this, but they got a cutout where the chopper hangs from. So anyway, none of that's really worth videoing, so I'm just going to get it done. And we will catch you guys after a bit. Well, got a little bit more done than what I thought. Ended up getting my real speed controller mounted up for that new head that I'm not going to use to cut wheat, so it wasn't really on the priority list. But you got another cable on the head. There's a motor and shit over here, or a hydraulic motor and power unit shit that goes over here that drives off of the Pitman shaft. And you got another control cable that runs back up along the head and hooks here and hooks into this bell crank. Then you cable up and it goes to that lever there in the cab. The hole up through the floor was there, but there's an overhang in the cab frame that I had to drill out for clearance. All the holes were in the console, but none of these holes were here, so I had to drill them. And every hole I drilled, I had to apologize to Max for putting new holes in his combine. Because I got all this stuff off of that white 7300. And on that combine, they had all these holes drilled through and they were nutted. Well, you can't get your damn hand in there with the feeder house chain in the way to put the nuts on, so I drilled and tapped them because the metal's thick enough right here. So this one's through drilled with a nut, but that and that are drilled and tapped. That way you ain't got to screw with nuts, they're just there. And then I got the straw spreader off, and I got that shield out because that's where the belts come through to run the chopper. So, and I did make a slight boo-boo. I'm sure you see the oil stain there. I went to drop the head, and normally having the corn head on here, you don't have to worry about unhooking the real height hose. So I walked around the head and undid the headlocks and got back in the combine and dropped the head and backed away from it, and I kind of ripped the tube off of the back of the head by accident. Somehow didn't really lose any oil, but yeah, we gonna have to fix that. But no big deal. It's not like I don't have the ability to do that. And somehow didn't hurt the hose on the combine, but I'm going to replace it anyway because this little boo-boo gave me a reason to actually look at it real good, and it's kind of dry cracked a little bit, so I'm going to replace that hose too before we have an issue. So mistakes were made, nothing we can't fix. But really, once the chopper's on, which the hard shit is all done, the rest of it is just unbolting stuff and bolting new stuff on, is the only other thing I have to do, which I might actually call Jake and see if he's got some parts that I need off one of their parts combines, is put the new style toggle latches on the bottom side of the feeder house so I can lock that new head on. I think there's enough, I really hope there's enough room. Well, I know there's enough room because I already had the damn head on the combine, but I can have both style locks on there so I could run a new or an old head, either one. So, anyway, I got a birthday party to get to in a couple hours, so I need to get shit put away, get my tools cleaned up, go home, get myself cleaned up because I'm kind of dirty. And tomorrow we'll fix my boo-boo and whatever other odds and ends, and probably run this thing back over the barn before it storms and start working on the chopper. So regardless, the way it sits right now, she's ready to go to the field and cut wheat. So the important stuff's done. All the rest of it's just stuff that needs to be done before fall. So I guess that does it for this one. We'll catch y'all on the next one.